Hey guys, welcome to my little paintbrush. I'm Miss Sarah and today we get to paint Wednesday and Thing. Love the series, love the show. I'm really excited to paint this with you guys. And we're gonna use a couple brushes. My favorites are flats for this one and a detail. So I have a large flat, a small flat, and a detail brush. You can use what works for you. If you have a round brush, that works great too. I also have all of my paints laid out on my plate like this. So you can see all my whites are separated. That's super important because you don't want to contaminate them all at once, right? So I separate them, and then my colors also, so I can get to them easily. So with your plate, go ahead and spread those out. I also have a jar or two of water and a napkin handy. So let's get started. Let's start first with our large or small flat, whichever one you're most comfortable with. I'm going to start with my larger one, put it in some water, just like this. Shake it out, tap it on my jar. We always want to start with some water because our acrylic paint gets thirsty. And what we're going to start with first is our background. We need to get those colors in so they can start drying. All right, so as you can see, her famous glass window is behind her. Okay, and she's looking out the window right now. So I'm going to put my colors on here. One side is full of color and the other side is gray. You can change these colors however you want. You don't have to do it like me or in the same pattern that I'm doing. Get creative. We love to see your creative side. I'm going to start with purple, and to do purple, we need to mix some colors to get that rich purple color. And I have a dark phthalo blue and a pink. And I'm going to mix those together to get my different shades of purple for the window. So first, let's get some white. I always start with a little white. Our acrylic paint gets... It's transparent. White is its best friend. So I use white a lot. You will need lots. That's why I like to separate them before I start. And I'm going to mix some of my phthalo blue here with white to get started. You get a light blue, and then I'm going to add pink to it. And you're going to see as you mix that pink in, you'll start to get a purple. Okay, and I want a darker purple to start with. And so I want to make sure I mix that pink in there enough to get the purple I need. Okay, so I'm going to mix that until I get that darker shade of purple. We'll lighten it up later as we go, but we'll start with the darker shade. All right, and I'm going to start here in this upper corner, and we're just going to fill in each of our shapes of the window. They don't need to be perfect because we are going to outline them with black at some point, right? And you can separate these colors, like I said, however you want to. If you don't want to lose the lines, just paint close to them, but not completely over them. So if you have our paint kit, you have all of this traced out for you on canvas, which is super helpful, right? Okay, so just make sure you don't paint completely over the lines if you want to be able to see them. But we can get pretty close. So I'm filling this in. And let's see, I've got another purple one right here. So you follow along with me or just put these fun colors wherever you want. You can separate them however. And it's kind of fun to mix these colors. You know, her stained glass window is just full of colors. So you can separate these in all kinds of ways. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. I have one more little darker shade of purple here next to her head. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. And if you want to use a smaller brush, if it's easier for you, go for it. I tend to use my large flat for a lot of things. And I use the toe of my brush, that's the tippy point of my brush, to get into those smaller corners. It's called the toe. And so I'll use this larger one for most things, but you can switch it out, whatever's easier for you. Okay, so now that I have my darker shade of purple on there, I'm just gonna lighten it up a little bit. So I'm gonna add some more white to this darker shade of purple that I already have and give us a lighter shade, just like that. Then you can keep mixing the white until you like it, until you're happy with the shade. And wanted mine pretty light. I want to see the contrast of my purples. So I did it pretty light there. Here we go. We're just going to start putting it in. Just doing it right above her head here. Go right around. Give us a smile shape right underneath. There we go. So there's my lighter shade of purple. Got another one. Let's see, right here above the darker shade. Fill that one in. And we'll come back in and brush in highlights on each color to make it look like it's reflecting light. But right now we're just getting the color on there. There we go. Let's see, where else do we have some? So I've got another light purple right here. It's just next to the darker shade, all the way up to her head. So I'm going to finish out that shape coming right up next to her. Brush that one out. Let's see. I think that's all of them. Now there's a little bit of purple showing here next to her braid. So I'm using the toe of my brush. If you want to switch brushes and use a smaller one for this, go for it. But I'm just using the toe to brush in that lighter purple right between her braid and next to her neck. All right, there we go. We have our 2 shades of purple on there. Let's go ahead and rinse our brush and get ready for our next color. I'm going to do blue next. Give our purple a minute to dry. So I have my blue and I'm going to add some white to it. So mix some blue and white together. I want a really light shade of blue. You can decide if you want it to be darker or not. You can change that shade. Just use a little bit less white if you want it darker, right? So here we go. Let's do our blue now. Right next to our purple. Let's fill this in. Give ourselves a smile shape along the bottom and the top, just to curve it out. There we go. I have one here under my purple. Another smile. Just want to try and use your wrist to curve those smiles under each shape. As you go, we'll get right up next to her hair. Brush and fill that in. You want to brush out any drips or thick paint just so it can dry flat for us. And then we have one more. It's just this little corner over here by her sleeve. Now, one thing we love to do here is wrap our canvas. It's where you paint the sides as well. So as you paint that blue, you can reach around and paint the sides of your canvas if you want to. Just helps finish it up, makes it look so pretty all the way around. Now I'm going to rinse my brush out again. Make sure it's really clean. And we're going to use some yellow. Make sure your brush is really clean or it will turn green. Blue and yellow, you'll get this green shade going on. And we want to keep it a bright yellow. So I'm going to mix some yellow and white together. Get us a bright yellow going. And it looks so pretty next to the purple. They just complement each other so nice. So I put that yellow right next to our purple here. Create that smile shape again. And I'm trying not to paint inside the colors too much, but if you do a little bit, it's okay. That's why the black outline's so nice. It just cleans that up. So I'm not too worried about it. Okay, brush that in. We'll do another one right next to it, right above your purple, just on that little corner of your canvas. And then we have 2 more right here, side by side. Smile shape. Lovely. Put that in there. One more right here by her sleeve, or her shoulder, I should say. Coming around. Brush that one out. Perfect. You can wrap your canvas there if you need to. Just brushing out the paint. We want to just make sure it's flat. Just like that. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. We have one more color, and it's our pink. And I'm actually going to switch to a smaller flat for this because they're tiny. See how little that is? But I have my pink here, and I'm going to mix it with some white. Because again, we always want to add white to our paint. And I have a little tiny spot here with pink right next to her hair. Pink just makes it pop. I love adding this pink to the window. And if you've seen the series, you know why, right? You know why that pink is so important. Okay. So we'll put that here, right along her hair. And we'll do one more, just a little one here by her braid, a little shape. I'm trying not to paint inside her hair, but if you accidentally do, not a big deal because her hair is black and you're going to be painting right over it, and black just covers everything. So no worries if you accidentally paint inside her hair a little bit. Okay, now one thing to keep in mind, as I paint, I'm keeping a pretty steady pace. I have to, but you don't. So you need to pause the video and take just a minute to catch up or to work on something. Go for it, okay? You don't have to go at my pace. That's the beauty of a recording. You can just go as fast or as slow as you want to and come back later. All right, but we have all the colors in now. They look so fun. Let's let that dry just a minute. All right. And then we're going to go work on the other side. But before I do, I want to paint her skin tone. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my hand because I stuck it in some blue there. Okay. So let's grab our small flat and make ourselves a skin tone color. And the skin tone is going to be white and a little bit of brown, and we're gonna mix those together. Her skin is very fair, so I'm keeping it very light, but you can go any shade you want. You can decide. That's what's so great about being able to make your own skin tone, is you get to decide what shade you want it. So if you want it just a little darker, whoop, go for it, okay? I'm just gonna paint it here just above her collar and under her hairline. Just fill that in. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? Just gonna, it's a little spot, but this way it can start drying for us. There we go. Just like that. Let that start drying. Okay. And then you have Thing over here that we definitely need to paint as well. So with Thing, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put our first layer on right now. And you need white and some brown again for a skin tone. Now for Thing, I did his skin tone, or yeah, whatever Thing is, right? Okay, we're going to make it a bit darker. So let's start first by just filling in the space with the skin tone of your choice, whatever that may be. Let's just fill it in. And if you don't want to lose the outline of anything, just be really careful not to paint over the lines. Just get up close, but not completely over them. That way you can see them later. Ooh. Yes, that's right. Okay. I'm going to paint just in there and get up close to these nails. These really dark nails. We're going to get up close here. Okay. Here we go all the way up. Make sure I'm doing that right. This one just goes close to the nail, so you can kind of follow along with me if it's confusing. Probably the most confusing part is just getting thing on here the right way. But as you can see, I'm really just filling in the space right now and shaping out the finger. So each of these fingers come right up to the nail and end there. See that? I just bring it to a point right up next to each nail on the right-hand side of my right-hand side. So I'm going to come right up close to that nail and leave it. You don't need to shape it really well or anything, because when you paint the black on her shirt or suit, it's going to clean that edge up. So right now you don't need to worry too much about that perfect line. That's why we're painting this first. We're just getting the paint on. We'll outline and do detail work later. All right, so now that you have the main color on here, I'm just gonna let it dry for a minute. Just let it be. We'll come back and do the detail works in a minute. So there you have it. Things on there, and we have her lighter shade of skin tone on. Okay, and let's let that dry a minute. Rinse our brush. All right, now this side of the window, we've got to go ahead and paint that, and it's a gray color. So while the hand and her neck are drying, we're going to get white and a little bit of black and mix those together to give us that really light shade of gray, right? Okay, and you can take the time to do each shape, or you can just paint the whole side and outline it later. Totally up to you. I usually just paint this whole side and then I put the lines in later. So if you lose these lines and outline all the outlines, it's okay. We're going to come back and I'm going to show you where to put them. So it's not too big of a deal. The goal is to try and paint in a smile shape rather than up and down. And the reason is it just helps with that reflection in the glass. Because if you notice when you watch her show, which I love, by the way, when you watch it, the glass kind of reflects side to side rather than up and down, and it has different shapes and everything in it. So if you care about those particular things, you know, then paint in a smile shape and you'll kind of get that idea across in your painting. Okay. So all that texture, the different shades of gray in the glass in your background, perfect. That's what we're going for. Rather than that flat, everything's the same color look. If you want to go with her glass texture, then it's okay to have those different shades showing up and brush strokes. But everybody's different, you know? So if you are feeling something else, that's okay too. You do what you like. The beauty of art, right? So now that we're getting up close to thing here, I'm going to try not to paint inside. The hand, we want to be drying right now so we can come back and do all the detail work in a minute. So I'm going to carefully go around as best I can. Like that. Right underneath, close to the thumb. And all the way down that edge. Now there's some little spots here in between. I don't want to use my big brush for those. I'm going to switch to my small flat or even a detail brush, okay? to get here between the fingers. You want to separate them and show the window behind, but you'll definitely need a smaller brush. And then right between the braids here and the head. There we go. And let's see, I think there's one more. Yep, right here. Just between the fingers, coming right up close to her top right there. Just like that. This right here is her braid. It'll be black, so we're gonna leave that alone. All right, good work. Let's let that dry for a minute. Rinse our brush. And we get to let that sit and go over back to our window for just a minute. Okay, we're gonna do her white collar and put some white in our window, and I'll show you how. So first, get some white on a brush, whichever brush you like, and we're just gonna paint her collar here. It's white. Let's get some white on there. We want to try before going to black to do all of our color. That way we don't contaminate our water. So I try to save the black for the very end so that your water stays clean as long as possible. Now for the color, I do put a little tiny bit of this gray from the window on the corner of my brush and go right along the top of her collar. This is called floating. So you can see I put it just on the corner of my brush that's still loaded with white. I'm going to go right along the top of that collar with a little bit of gray. You can also outline it, so you could grab a detail brush and just do these edges with your line or detail brush as well. But you want to try and keep the collar white and the edges gray, just like that. Okay, rinse your brush. Okay, now we're going to do something called dry brushing. So rinse your brush really good, wipe it off on a napkin. We're going to put a little bit of white on the very tip of it. Brush it off so it's not too full of white. You can see it's very, very small amount, okay? And dry brushing is where you just go right into the center of the color, brush in a smile shape back and forth with a little bit of white, and that's going to give you that lighter reflection in each color. It's not super noticeable. You don't necessarily have to do it, but I did it in each color to brighten up the painting, give it a little bit of reflection, as if there's light coming through. And you can do it on every color, or you can just do it on some of the colors. Just up to you on what you prefer. Need a little more white on that one. So I'm just lightly brushing it in. Just before we do the black. Okay. Do a little bit in our purple as well. Let's see. Little bit in there, a little bit in this one. Oh, and this here. I put way too much on that one. Oops. If that happens, just put a little more purple on your brush and brush it out. There we go. I want it to be a reflection. I don't want the white to take over, right? So if your white starts to take over, you know what to do. Put a little more purple on your brush and just brush it out. There it is. A little over here, and that corner one. Lovely. Okay, just kind of look and see where you think you need a little bit more light. Brush that one in. Back and forth. Okay. Blending in that one a little bit. And we need a little more, I think, in my yellow. Then I'm going to take my brush and rinse it out. Make sure it's clean because yellow shows everything. I'm going to brush a little bit of white in my yellow here and here. Make sure my pink has some as well. Oh, I got gray on that one. Didn't even see I splattered gray on the pink. Okay, perfect. All right. You can do it in your gray too if you feel like you don't have enough white in your gray. I have a lot in mine. I don't feel like I need too much. I do like my strokes in my gray. I have a lot of different shades of gray showing through, so I'm pretty happy with that. But if you want more, just do the same thing. Brush a little bit of white in your gray just to give it that reflection. All right, so let's go ahead now and get our black. So I'm going to rinse my brush. You should have quite a bit of black handy. Let's start first with her hair and we'll work our way down. So the hair, it's pretty simple to start with, but whenever you're doing hair, you want to imagine that your paintbrush is your hairbrush. Okay, so you want to brush in the direction that her hair is going. So even though you think you could just paint it in really quick and be done, it's actually pretty important that you take the time to brush her hair with your paintbrush, because then all of those brush strokes look like strands of hair and they're going in the right direction. So I'm actually parting her hair with my hairbrush, or my paintbrush. I'm parting her hair as I go. There we go. So she still has that part in her hair where her braids are separating, coming down and up into the braid as if I'm pulling her hair to the side with my paintbrush. Just like that. And then the highlights will separate it. Now we're going to braid her hair. So my paintbrush is actually going to do it for me. I'm taking each strand just like this as if I'm braiding it on that side. And then I'm going to come and meet that side with the other, doing the same thing, curving my brush. So you can kind of see how my paint looks braided. If you look up close, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but my paint strokes look braided. They're going to come together. We've got to carefully go around thing here. And I'm going to switch brushes to do around the hand because we don't want to paint inside of thing. I'm going to switch to my detail brush real quick just to finish off these little spots around thing here. There we go. And just right between the fingers here. There we go. Just because otherwise it would be really hard to try and fix it later. So there's that hair strand coming through. Okay, let's let it dry a minute. And we're just gonna paint her top here. I'm brushing side to side. Nothing super fancy about this. We're just getting the paint on the top of her outfit here. Go carefully though around the collar. And her sleeves kind of puff up a little bit, if you notice that. So we're gonna give them a little bit of a little bump up top and then come straight up under the neckline. There we go. And the neckline, I try to go as straight as I can, but you know, lines are hard. Just do our best. All the way across. And once you get up close to the thing, again, we want to slow down because we don't want to paint over those fingers. So I get close, but I don't get up next to those fingers. I'm going to use a detail brush to do that. Don't want to risk painting over the hand and losing my outline, you know, not worth it. So I get up close, but I'm not going to paint right over it. So there's the thumb. All right. Now you can paint the bottom of your canvas if you want to. Already looking awesome. So now I'm switching to my detail brush just to do the little spots around things' fingers here. Right? Because you definitely don't want to paint over. All right. And these nails are not perfect in any way, so don't even worry about trying to get the perfect shape. I mean, if you know thing, you know. Let's see. Yes. Got to make sure we get that shape. There we go. And then right here, along the nail. Okay. And you can have all kinds of squiggly things happening here. I mean, this is not what I would call a perfect hand by any means. All right, we're just going to separate that area. Paint that line for the top of her shirt. I am so shaky. Holy moly, I think my caffeine just kicked in for the day. Ooh. All right, go around that finger. And we'll get right up here and that one. And her sleeve goes up on this side as well. And he's just resting there, right on top of there. Oh, don't want that. Paint right along that edge. All right, this is awesome. We got all of that on there, so all we need to do now is our details. Now to do the details, first, let's finish thing, and then we'll do our outlining. So thing, I float the edges for thing. And the reason I do that is to give different shades, different shadows to the hand. So what we're going to use is first, just make sure you have things basic color ready. Okay. If you need it. You don't necessarily need to do this. You could start with just a wet brush, but you want to put some brown on the corner, just like this, of your brush. Okay. And all we're going to do is float the edges of thing. So I'm facing that darker shade of brown on the outside, and it just kind of gives him that old worn look, you know, because he is, or whatever thing is. I mean, what is thing? I don't know. Don't know what thing is. I'm sure there's a backstory that I'm not aware of for thing, but I do know that he looks old. So we're going to float the edges with this darker brown. Just like this. And you can see it kind of darkens up all of the skin tone here. Also going to do this little finger in the back. All right, we're going to do this one. Like that. All right. here. And yes, we will have to outline some knuckles and stuff. I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? Somehow it works because it's Thing. And Thing, there's just no, it's not perfect, you know? That's what was fun painting his hand. It's not like your typical hand that stresses you out because everything has to be done a certain way to look right. Not with Thing. You can just have some fun. All right. Let's make sure I'm just brushing it in. Make sure all the colors are on there like they should be. Laid flat. I got one more darker shade I got to do here on the other side of the thumb. There we go. Let's see. I think that's it. So you can see I'm with this hand, I'm bringing the fingers up. Okay. You don't have to do that. I do it just because I like all those funky lines and Thing. Just makes it, you know, lots of bones and stuff showing up. I mean, he's just that way. You got to know the personality, right? It's just how he is. So it's okay to have some different shades of brush strokes showing up for him. That is okay. Let's see. This one has up and over a little bit. I'm going to brush out. Add a little bit. Okay. Now let's let Thing just sit there for a minute. We got to do those nails. The nails, I just did a really darker brown. A little bit of white and dark brown. And we're just going to fill in the shapes because you're going to come back with some black when we're outlining and age them a little bit. But I'm just using a square brush as if I'm painting someone's fingernails, you know? And we're just painting in that square shape. Nothing too fancy about it, okay? Just brush it in. The older you want them to look, the darker they can be. All right, so we're gonna let that be. All right, let's grab our detail brush. Actually, let's see. Yeah, let's do our highlighting on the hair. Let's do it right now before we do our lines. So just take a flat brush, okay? And you're just going to put a little bit of white on the corner of your flat brush like this. All right, and you can put black on the other side or not. Totally up to you, okay? And the fun thing with highlighting her hair is you can add color over the white later if you want to. Okay, so we're just going to start at the top because the idea of highlighting is so that it stands out. You don't want her hair getting lost in the background. So I just kind of highlight the top first, just like this. And then for the center, you want to kind of show where the part is in the center, but you don't want it to take over. Just enough that you can see it. So I do a little bit there and a little on the bottom where it curves. Okay. And then for the rest of these, you're just going to pretend you're brushing her hair a little bit. And remember, the fun thing with this is if you don't like one, if you look at one of the highlights and you decide, I don't like that, just take some black, you can paint right over it. It's really easy to change your mind. Let's see. Okay. As I think when I was painting her hair the first time, or the first couple times, I painted her a couple times before I decided what I liked. I changed it, you know, the highlights a few times. So one thing that you do want to try and keep in mind when you're doing highlights is, you know, on the right side or the outside of the hair, it's the curves are curved in, and on the inside they're curved out. All right, so with these braids, we're going to start at the top just to separate them. Okay, now the top highlight right here, very first one, comes up into the hair as if it's braided up. Okay, just kind of comes in a little bit like that. And then we're going to curve a smile shape in each one, just right along the outside edge, just like that. And then we'll do some on the inside, same way. It's just to show off the braids a little bit so they don't get lost. I don't do every single one, just enough to show where they curve in. So you can do it just like me. You can keep going however many you want. Up to you. But just do that outside edge and that'll show where the braids are. All right, perfect. There you go. Now with this, once it dries, you can put color in her hair if you want to. But I am going to show off where the top of her shirt is here by just highlighting it lightly. And this edge as well. Just like that. Okay. I didn't put any over here just because Thing is there and he's shadowing it. All right, we are ready. Now once the white is dry in her hair, I did put a little bit of purple on my brush because the window I felt was reflecting there. So you can put a little bit of purple in her hair on that side. Just like that. It's kind of fun. And you can put a little bit if you feel like it's kind of throwing a reflection over here. Just play with it. Have some fun. It's just all about being creative and doing what comes to you, you know? All right, use a detail brush and thin out your black real quick. You want this black super thin, like inky thin, because we're going to do our lines. We want to make sure that our black isn't too thick. So I'm adding quite a bit of water. I'm going to take just a minute here. I'm dipping my brush in water and I'm stirring it in my black. I really want to thin it out. Because when you're doing lines, you don't want to be getting these thick clumps. You want it to go nice and smooth on your canvas. So one thing that helps me is if I can start my line and make it all the way down without picking up my brush. That's how I know I have a good amount of water in my black. So I'm going to do all of these straight or angled lines first, just before I connect them. Do them first. Let's see. Make sure I get them right. And they'll lay the pattern for, whoop, smeared it. They'll lay the pattern for all of the curved smile shapes inside. So I want to do them first. I do the middle one first down the middle. That's my guide. And then I separate each one. Let's see here. I think this one comes out here next to Thing. So I'll just fill that one in. Then we have one more right here. Yep. All right, now we'll do the other side. This is my awkward side, so it feels backwards for me. So I'm always trying to go at a weird angle on this side. I'm sorry if my elbow's in your way. All right. Oh my goodness. We are almost done. I hope you've had fun painting her. She was a lot of fun to create, trying to put her together so all those colors are right. The colors just really make it pop. I love these colors. Okay, and one more line here. All right, now that we've done that, let's wait just a minute before you go so you don't smear anything, and just outline her neck here. There we go. Just so you can see it. And then we'll outline the top of our color, curving it just a little bit, and then coming down on each side. So you can see why I didn't stress too much on how perfect all of this was, because once you outline, it cleans it up for you. Outline the top of our color. It's like that. Okay, you ready to finish up seeing? You can do it. You can. Promise. I'm going to walk you through it. So first things we're going to do is we're just going to outline them. Okay, so let's start up at the top. Let's just outline all the way around. It'll be a nice guide for us. And you can see if I can get my brush moving, whoop, then usually, ugh, great. No, I smeared my black. See, we don't want that to happen. We can fix it later though. All right. Make some gray really quick. Make a little gray. Go in here, touch it up. It's like it never happened. All good. The beauty of acrylic paint, I tell ya. Lovely. Okay. Do the other side of the thumb. Always try to tell our artists, there's nothing you can't fix or change. It's okay. Don't stress it too much. Do that part. So right now, like I said, we're just doing the outside. All right, there we go. Now this right here, you'll just need to separate. So we're gonna come here and straight down, okay? This right here is behind. It's just the finger behind. So that's why that's separated. It's kind of hard to see it, but. And then right here, you're going to separate because you have the finger behind showing up right here. So this part's a little confusing. So you want to come right where the knuckle is turning, okay? And you're going to come up and straight back. So it looks like that finger's right behind. All right, and then let's see. This finger comes up a little bit. Let's see, we're gonna do this one first. So this one comes up just a little bit higher. Okay. So let's come down. Okay, and we're gonna curve the knuckle on this one. All right, and then we'll do this one. Same way, but it's a little bit lower. Curve the knuckle. Okay. And this one here comes up. All right, so you're just bringing each one up just slightly. Starts here, here, and here. Now we've got to add our stitches. So right here along the top of thing, you're going to put your little rainbow shape. Now we've got to connect right here, right where it curves. Okay, you're going to create a half circle to connect that finger. This one here, you're just going to come up and around. So let's start here on this tiny corner, curve it around, just like that. Okay. And then here you have a little stitch curved out. There you go. Now you just got to add your stitches, okay? So right here, we're going to add them at the top, just little lines. I curve them just a little bit. You don't have to. You could do straight lines if you want to. Curve. I curve them so it looks like, you know, it's not flat. All of our stitches are curved just slightly. They can be long, they can be short. Totally up to you. No right or wrong way here. And then I've just got 2 little stitches on that one. There you go. Okay, now with the fingernails, you can come around the top with black. I don't do the whole thing outlined, I just do that top edge. Just like that. Rinse your brush. Beautiful work. Let's use some brown. I just do some straight brown like this. If you want to add some knuckle creases, you know, just add a little bit there. I just do like 2 lines just to show where I think they might be. Oh, I missed one more stitch. That's really important, guys. Don't forget your thumb stitch. Right here. That one's kind of important. There you go. All right, there's Thing. Thing is on there. Well done. Last thing you gotta do before the highlights, just add your curves now between these lines. The reason I waited is so these are dry. That way I don't just smear it with my hand, which I'm really good at doing. I am good at smearing black. So I like to wait just a sec. That way I can rest my wrist on my canvas and curve. Because usually with stuff like this, I'm holding my canvas pretty close because I'm super shaky. So if you want to hold your canvas, it helps, let me tell you. But you can see once you add the lines, it just cleans up all those edges, right? I'm just curving as if each one is smiling at me. So we're just going to curve our brush. You can have thick lines, thin lines, whatever works for you. Whatever you like. It just depends on how hard you press. So sometimes if I'm pressing pretty hard, I'm going to get a thicker line than if I press lightly. All right, got one here in the corner. It's kind of right by my clip there, so. We kind of want to try and match the other side, but it doesn't have to be perfectly matched. All right, let's see. Got one more here. Connecting, we're just connecting our web here with each one. One more here. That one kind of disappears behind. I think I got them all right. Yep, we have our one here. Awesome. Look at that. That's amazing. Love it so much. Wait till Thing dries before you add Thing's highlight on there, but use the back of your brush while you wait just a minute. Let's add some stars coming through that window. So I'm going to put a little bit of white on the back of my brush. And you can put these wherever you want, but I just stamp those stars reflecting through the window. And here, kind of see them. Just adds a little bit to our painting, something fun, brightens it up. I'm just stamping these. Oop. Sometimes you get a circle and sometimes you don't get enough paint. That's why you want to make sure you get what we call a chocolate chip, a nice thick amount of paint. Now the lighter you press, the smaller your stars will be. So it just depends on how big you want them. Let's see, another one here in the blue. Stamp a couple clusters. Blue. Where else? A few more here. And then the pink. Just like that. And you can just keep going. Keep putting them wherever you want. All right. You did amazing. I would love to see your work. Be sure to tag us at My Little Paintbrush so we can see them. It just makes our day to see what you guys come up with. But my last little touch here, I want to make sure Thing is dry, but we're just going to highlight, add a little bit of light here for Thing. And let's see where else. Anywhere you think light might be touching, or if you want something to really stand out. I tend to just focus on the outer edge of the fingers where the light would be hitting, and then along the stitches because they're kind of fun to show off, you know. Whoop, there, and then here. I think that's it, right? Did I get them all? I think so. I'm going to paint over some of the white where I want those stitches to stand out. Just like that. There you have it. Love it so much. All right, let's give it a signature because we are pretty proud of ourselves right now, right? We worked really hard on this. So I'm going to use some white and get my detail brush. I added a little bit of water. Find an area for my signature. We should always sign our work. Be proud of our effort. Well done. Thank you for painting with me. Hope you had a great time. If you did, give us a thumbs up and come paint with us again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.